All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another Slime Sky Memories video. So today we're gonna be talking about, I guess an octagram tier list. It literally is, but it's more, I would say, who you would want to get first, maybe. Or the ones you should prioritize. Okay, the ones you should prioritize, and the ones that you should not probably ever get unless like you need them for some niche reason or whatever, right? But first, I will say that all octagram protectors do have an inherent value for existing because for all the events, they did this a while ago, but each octagram character starts off with a 10% boost into harvest, the harvest effect, the percentage for each monthly event. So if you have this Rimu, right? If you have him level 80 and you throw him on like your harvesting team for the monthly event that you use to parallel process, you'll add an extra 10%, and then it scales if you get him higher to like maybe 15 or 20%. I don't really remember. Yeah, it scales up to 15%, not 20, sorry. It goes 1% every 4 levels, so every dupe that you pull or you put into them is 1%. So inherently they're not bad to have, right? But as either a beginning player or more, I guess maybe beginning to mid game, when you're kind of thinking like, who should I be getting first? This list will be for you, right? So before we actually get into it, I do want to ask, let me know, like, please comment down below your guys' thoughts. I don't have all the characters and I don't use them all the time. This is just like my own from what I've seen and stuff like that, but like I could be wrong in certain areas, or like maybe they could have hidden benefits or something. So please let me know. I'd really greatly appreciate it. And yeah, let's start from the beginning. Okay, we'll start from here, we'll go all the way to here. So we'll go, well, we have 5 tiers. We have worthless, so terrible, absolutely garbage. Sucky, which is like, they suck, but they're not a complete 0. They're like a 10%, like a 10 out of 100, you know, something like that. And then we have meh, who's like, they have some uses, they can be okay, not really that great, you know. We have decent, which is like, okay, like, you know, the developer that made them kind of cooked, you know, they kind of a chef. And then Pog is, they created a masterpiece, or like really, really good. The chef cooked hard, basically. Okay, so we'll start with Earth Daggerel. Here he is. So Earth Daggerel is a battle character, and he has an AoE ult, and he decreases his own defense to the end of battle by 15%. He also buffs his own ult damage, and he heals. And then he also boosts his own ult gauge, and then he damages himself for 30% of max HP. So we're gonna put him in worthless. Now the reason I put him in worthless, like, you might look at this and you think, oh, this isn't bad, right? Like, he'll do a lot of damage, or like he heals himself and then he damages himself and then he heals himself. What's so wrong with that? I can tell you right now. First, he stacks his own defensive debuff until the end of battle by 15%. That is a lot. 15% is a lot. You use this like 2 or 3 times, you're already at 45% reduced defense, right? He has an AoE ult, which it's at 270. It's not even at like 290 or something like super high. And sure, this is fine. I think this goes up to like 50%. It's pretty cheap. And it does have a skill fusion. But like, you're going to be using this way more than this, because you're only going to use this when you have his ult. But you need to pop 2 of this if you're just only to pop this to get his ultimate. So he doesn't really serve a purpose, because you would use him for damage, but then he would just not do that much damage and then die really easily. His trait sucks, so you don't really use him for anything. And yeah, he's just bad overall. Obviously, like, these character stats are like disgusting, right? we sort by okay, well maybe not attack. Some of them are up here, but like in terms of like health and so, and it's mainly health and stuff like that, they are like decently high, right? So yeah, Dagro unfortunately just sucks. I don't know what they were thinking when they made him, so you probably shouldn't get him unless you really like Dagro for some reason. Next we have Leon. I'm gonna put him in meh. Now the reason I'm putting him in here is because he, like, this is not bad. This skill right here is definitely not bad. So he changes all of his own souls to soul secrets, and then he buffs the ult gauge, or he buffs the orange orb gauge increase. He does a lot of damage with crit rate, and then 50%, or actually they changed it. So now they get the secret skill damage resistance and his own ult buff, which is nice. He has a 450% single target. So it's pretty decent. He's not anything super crazy. I used to think he was a lot worse, but I also feel like even with this new team that just came out, this could actually be pretty decent. He can work on that orange team, even though he's physical, I believe. Yeah, he's physical, but you can use him with Toa and stuff like that. He's not anything too crazy though. Like, he's okay. Maybe like a 30 or 40 out of 10, or maybe 50, but like he needs more juicing to like actually be able to cook. I guess you could use him as like, he could work as like your main DPS unit, but there are a lot of current like light DPS units that are also good. Gazelle I think is a little bit, let me open another tab. Gazelle I think is a bit outdated in terms of like how much damage he can do. If we look at like his stats, he's pretty low. Yeah, he's all the way down here. He does have like the crit damage, crit rate, and attack buff. And he does 450, but he's kind of outdated in terms of damage. So he's definitely not bad. In terms of other light characters, like, I mean, you have this one, why am I forgetting? Xion. You have this Xion, who is really still pretty good in my opinion. This Rimuru is getting added next week, so he could, if you manage to pull him or her, whatever, could also be good. But like Leon, if you really need a light DPS, then I guess you can use him, but I wouldn't prioritize him, if you know what I mean. So next, he's just that meh. So next we have Luminous, Dark Luminous Valentine. I am gonna put her at Pog. So I know that I mean, some people have kind of like, she's kind of aged a bit. If we look at her skill set, she has an AoE ult for 290, so she's the only one with 290, and she buffs ult damage up to 80%, used to be 60, 80%, and then heals all allies by 5% of their max HP. So she has an AoE heal plus an ult damage buff by 80%. And because this stacks by 20%, this counts as a separate buff to like a normal ult buff, like Megumin's, for example. Like, you can use this and stack this as well. So you can get this to 80% plus another 70% or 80% as well, and then whatever other buffs, right? So very useful. This one is decent. It's not like, it can be helpful to like get your ult and stuff like that, but you're not using this too often, except for there have been some specific like Heroes Jubilee stages where protection gauge, like, you can offset that and you just build up your ultimate if you already have like a protection gauge, but you're not really using it all the time. Like, outside of niche setups, I don't think you're really getting much use out of this. Her main usage though is this. She gives protection gauge 5 once per turn from the start of battle to turn 3. So if you have her as a support unit and you have that character out on the field for 3 turns, you get 5 skill points. So that'll be, or 5 points in your protection gauge. So that'll be 15 points. So it's actually a lot. So yeah, I think she is a very good support unit. She has aged a bit. This can get expensive. Like, you're not going to be using this all the time, but it can be very helpful. This is also good, but we've also seen a lot more characters with a protection gauge trait. I think I can sort by, not, is it soul buff or just here? So we have a lot of characters now, right? We obviously have like the main 3. We have this Rimuru as well, who gives 6 every 3 turns. You know, so we have a lot of characters that already give protection gauge, so you don't necessarily like need her as specifically as a support unit anymore. I might actually move her down to decent, but I don't know. I feel like she's kind of in the middle. She's maybe like low pop. I should change the stuff, but whatever. You know what I mean? She's good. She's really good support unit and stuff like that. Compared to like maybe like all the other characters, I'd say she is pretty in like the top 10%. So next we have OCTAGRAM Guy. He is I'm also gonna put him in Pog above the Luminous. So Guy used to be very, very, very bad. The reason he used to be bad, well, here, let's go over his skill set. So he changes 3 green to 3 orange. So he's a triple orb changer and then buffs alt orbs, which is good. This is good right here. Like, this has always never been bad. And then we have this. So before it used to just be this, but now we'll read the skill fusion. So the skill fusion, you have a 100% chance to stun the target for 1 turn. And then you burn them for 10%, and then it does damage equal to how much fire damage they take. This part doesn't matter too much, but it is this. This before, well, and his trait and other stuff doesn't matter. But Guy Crim's OCTAGRAM Guy used to be really bad. The reason I say that is because before, the hardest game mode in the game used to be Conquest or Tempered Edge. Both of those stages had like all the bosses could not be stunned. The only I mean, there were like, I think a couple stages where you can actually stun the enemy, like, but once you hit, at least in Conquest, once you hit the EX mark, which was the hardest difficulty, you couldn't stun any of the bosses. So there was no real, like, why would you use him, like, realistically? You could use him in the easier stages, especially if you're a beginner player, but like, there wasn't much need for him. He was kind of just like whatever. Like, he was an option, but like not many people really used him. But now with beatdown battles, with how difficult they've become, you can actually stun those bosses, which I think has made him really, really good. Stun, like, you might think stun might not be that great, but like stuns, like, you just knock him out for 1 turn, which is absolutely fantastic. There are specific team setups where you can actually use his skill and just stun lock the enemy boss. Now at this point, if you, I don't know if you've, in some of my older videos, there are times, like, I remember last year I did a video where I did the Space EX Conquest, and that stage was difficult. That was around the time Earth, I think it was Earth 2.0 came out, or like Space 2.0. And that stage, I literally had to level up, ability release, and gear my 3-star Fire Kurobe. Hold on, let's see, 3 and 4-star. This Kurobe, and where's he? Gail Gibson. Where's the goat? Gail Gibson. At some, eventually I'll find. Oh, he's a 3-star. Gail Gibson, and then also I think it was Geld. I had to star up and use these units to try and beat the stage, and eventually I did. I was able to just barely kill that melon. But now, if you're a newer player and you've summoned for like these EX characters, if you have like just this Rimuru or like Guy or something, you can actually just like 2-shot that stage, like finish all the stages in like a few turns because of how much damage you do now, especially with like the protectors. So those stages are kind of a wash, but now like the harder content is like beatdown battles because they've gone to Infernal 3 and stuff like that, and you can stun lock them with this new guy, or with this OCTAGRAM Guy. So I would maybe, I think, here, can I add a row above. Yes, I would just put him up here. So you realistically, you want to go for him first. I'm just gonna say it now, you just want to go for him first because you can just stun lock new events, and then also old conquest. If you're struggling with those, you can stun the enemy except in the EX difficulty. So yeah, Guy before used to not be that great, like he sucked, and outside of normal content, outside of content where you're not doing like beatdown battle or something, he sucks. But like in those specific stages that are super difficult, if you're struggling to do like EX or like Infernal 1 or something like that, you can just stun lock him, build the team to get a lot of skill points, and just stun lock the enemy, and then you eventually just kill him. You know, so yeah, Guy is number 1. He's fantastic now. So next we have Rammus, and I am going to put her in meh. So before Rammus, when she first came out, she used to be pretty decent, I think. We look at her skill set, she has so much health and so much defense. I believe she is the highest, almost second to Dina, but she used to be the highest. She has really high defense and really bad attack, but she's not meant to do damage. She buffs wind attack enemies, and I think this did this one change? Oh wait, no, it changed. Linked operations changed. So it used to be this, but now she increases max HP and then decreases attack. But she was basically just a big tank. You would just use her as a tank because she heals 60% of all allies max HP. That is, I think, still the biggest heal that we have. She is really great for defense battle and things like that. But outside of that, like, she's pretty bad. She doesn't do any damage. It can get harder to soak up damage now, and like to use this over and over. 55 skill points is a lot. Especially if you're not doing like a stacking team or some sort of team where you're getting a massive influx of skill points. So she's kind of dropped off the priority ladder, I guess. You can still use her. Like she does look good. Like she has like in the in-game model and all that stuff, she's like really cool. She's in her big mech and everything. But in terms of actual like skill and stuff, Rammus is not anything too crazy. She has a big heal, but it's not really super useful anymore, which is unfortunate. She used to be, before I would put her like here, but now she's kind of here. So next we have Space Millum, the very first character, OCTAGRAM character to ever come out. Data mined at the beginning of the game. She was so cool. Her skill still looks really good, by the way. But we're gonna put her in decent. Some people might have her in Pog. I don't think anyone would have her like up here, but I'd say she's decent. If you can gear her well, like with the OCTAGRAM gear and things like that, she can do a lot of damage. I believe she still has the highest attack stat. No, she's actually kind of low. But she does a lot of damage. She gives herself 100% crit rate and guard pen by 90%. Before it used to be 30% crit rate for all allies, and then guard power by 25%. But now she has this, and she also gives herself I think this goes up to 100% pierce rate, and then maybe like 15% pierce power. And she has a 470% single target ult. So she was the highest for a while. Before it used to be 450%, now it's 470. It was 470 for her. So she used to do a lot of damage, and she still can. If you play Valor Cup to any extent, you'll know that there's sometimes when you take a team in and then Millum just comes out and you don't kill her right away, and she gets a bunch of orbs. She can do a lot of damage. She can do really good damage in like Valor Cup, and then also in stages where you're boosting her attack and things like that. But like in terms of like picking her, she's pretty high on the list, but I wouldn't make her a big priority unless you really need a space DPS. Because if we sort by space, like the units here aren't too crazy. But I mean, you do have the hero who can work as a DPS, and she's just a good space unit overall. Like she's the best unit overall. We just got this Raphael who is arguably on the same level as her. or maybe like just right behind her. These two are decent. These guys are okay. These units can still be okay. But you still have like good units, right? This Milim still can do a lot of damage. So she's not anything like, she's not at the priority, but she's high up there. I would say she's one of the best, but not number one, if you know what I mean. So she's still a good investment. I would just prioritize these two first before her. She's like high, decent, low pog. You know, she's like teetering in between, but I'm just gonna put her down here. I think she's still really good. Maybe she could be up here. I don't know. Let me know. So next we have Dino. Yeah, he's worthless. If we look at his skill set, he has really high HP. As we've seen, he has the highest, I think. He has the highest HP, 9193. So he decreases single target's attack and it increases by 10% up to 50% every 3 turns. Which can be okay, and he decreases water resistance, which is whatever. But like, unless we get a stage where like you need to debuff the enemy, this is kind of whatever. We don't have stages where enemies are like doing 10 million damage right off the bat. They're usually doing like maybe a quarter or something, and then it racks up. But like, usually you want to prioritize other things over this. This is just whatever. Like, I wish this debuff would be more useful, and maybe it can be in the future, like we saw with Guy. Maybe they'll have like harder stages where the first 2 or 3 turns, he will just like one-shot your units. So you need to start off with this guy, and then you debuff him or something like, or like the first turn, and then the second turn, third and fourth, he'll one-shot your characters. So you need to lower his attack or something. Who knows, right? But at the moment, it's not that great. And then Hellish Cradle, I'll just look at the skill fusion. I mean, you'll mainly have this, but like this is the biggest, like what he'll do. So before, he used to decrease his own attack. I don't know what they were thinking with this. Like, why are you debuffing your own attack just to heal himself? It's a big heal, but like, why, you know? But they changed it with the skill fusion. Now he gives all allies a continuous heal, just like Earth Mulan, and it's 50% max HP up to 2 times. So that's basically 30%. And then he decreases all targets' single target attack by 20%, which is okay. Again, debuffing at the moment is not very useful, aside from stuns. Like, stuns are like, oh my god, you know, because I mean, it's a stun, but like, this doesn't really matter too much. His ult is whatever. This is whatever. There are so many skill point trait characters that are like insane. We literally go here. Where is it? Skill points. You have all these who are really good. So yeah, Dino unfortunately is bad. And then finally we have the OCTAGRAM, the most awaited OCTAGRAM character since OCTAGRAM units were a thing. OCTAGRAM Rimuru. I remember when people used to be like, they data mined the time icon and thought that it would be a new element added with these OCTAGRAM units, or like Rimuru will have like the time icon and he'll be like a super busted character. And then eventually we realized, once all the other units came out, okay, he has to be a protector or something. And he is the OCTAGRAM protector. He increases OCTAGRAM banner BAZAAR force characters attack by 10%. Or no, this one is the 15% for all allies, and then further increases OCTAGRAM BAZAAR force characters attack and defense by 15%. So this is okay if you're running a full OCTAGRAM team. They're not too crazy, but like, I can kind of see the vision, I guess. But his skill, he increases all allies attack to the end battle by 8% unlimited, and then he heals all allies by 30%, and then it gives you 30 skill points. So yeah, you might be thinking to yourself, 8% attack is not bad. he heals and he gives 30 skill points. Not bad. Yeah, that's great. But we've seen with stacking units that if you don't have something like reducing skill cost or giving yourself extra like max skill points and then buffing the orb skill point increase, this becomes pretty worthless after a few times, because you would use this for orb changes or skills, but 30 is not a lot. After you use a skill like an orb change skill once, it goes from like 25 to like 50, so it costs a lot. This heal is great, I guess, but you don't really need to heal all the time. And then this is okay, but like attack stacking is fine, but when it's just by itself, it's pretty worthless, because you're going to be churning this out, but you need to be using skill points to constantly be getting this out, to orb change and then get a bunch of blue orbs and stuff like that. But you're only getting 30 skill points, and then they cost a lot, and you're not getting any extra buffs, so you need to invest in those. It gets very complicated. But overall, it's just not that great. Unfortunately, he just sucks. Like, it could have made him so much better. I think they could have given him like a new unique protection skill or something, but they kind of made him more generalistic. And this, like with other things, all of these skills can be great. All these specific things can be great, but when it's just themselves like this, like sewn together, it doesn't really work. Unfortunately, it really doesn't really work. He's just not anything too crazy, which is unfortunate. So I'm gonna put him in sucky. He's not terrible. He's not completely worthless, because you can use him, but yeah, you don't really want to be bringing him for the most part. You don't really even need him, because how often are you going to be using the OCTAGRAM BAZAAR team? You're only going to be using one, maybe two of these characters in the same team most of the time, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, let me know down below what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know if this was helpful. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.